book of James. We are continuing our series called Spiritual Report Card. Week after week going to the same premise, which is we don't get a grade for the stuff that really matters in life. The trivial stuff, the unimportant stuff, the temporal stuff, we get grades on, right? This is how good you do your job. Here's how much you get paid. That's your measurement scale. Here's how well you know Spanish. Here's your grade. That's your measurement scale. Okay? But for the stuff that really matters, we have nothing. We hope we're not screwing up too bad, right? That's all we got. There's no grade for it. So, without becoming legalistic, what we're doing is we're creating a system by which we can look at our lives, and if we have self-awareness, go, man, I gotta change this about myself. So today, we are talking about the idea of the way that we speak. The way that we speak. Now, it goes a little bit deeper. This isn't just about not using the F word, okay? There's no, like, point-counterpoint show on the use of the F word. No one's like, here's all the great reasons why you should use it. Everyone's like, here's the great reason you shouldn't use it, okay? It doesn't exist, all right? It's just not a good idea, all right? From the way that people perceive your intelligence to just the way that it can offend people, no one's ever like, I think it's better that we all just use that. Okay, that's not the point of the message, okay? If that's the point of the message, I would say, don't say F and then leave, okay? It's not the point, okay? It goes much bigger than that. So, as we begin, we're going to read James, the beginning of James chapter 3. Now, for those of you who've been in church for a while, you go, James 3, you're going to read the first sentence, and you're going to go, oh, this is about taming the tongue, okay? We really talked about this 2 months ago, right? And in the same breath, you're going to go, remember who was here that day when we talked about taming the tongue? It was Jessica, and she was dressed like a skank, right? And so in the same breath that we go, we just talked about taming the tongue. Remember Jennifer was here? She's a skank. It's like, did you hear yourself say that just now? Okay? Later in James, it's going to say, anything that you read, even repeatedly, that you don't put into practice, it's as if you've never heard it before. Today, I hope to give you a little bit of a different view of it. Think of like a diamond. Okay? Light shining on a diamond. You rotate that diamond a little bit, and everything changes. Okay? The refractions, everything is different now. Okay? That's what we're trying to do today. We are in James chapter 3, beginning verse 2. We all stumble in many ways, period. Okay? It's just a statement. We all blow it. Okay? Continuing. If anyone is never at fault in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to keep his whole body in check. Now again, that word means mature. Okay? So it's not saying that if you don't ever hurt you with the words that you say, you are perfect. You have no sin in your life. No. What it's saying is, you have kept yourself out of probably every kind of trouble you can get into. While it might, at the end, be an action, it probably started as a word. Alright? I'll give you an example. Most of the controversy in your life was not action-based. Is that fair? Most of what you know about people is not action-based, right? If you were like, man, that guy's a real jerk. Why? You're not like, because when he kicks a soccer ball, he does it like he owns the place, right? No one ever does that. Now, you might have a problem with humility because of the way that he speaks while he's playing soccer. That might collaborate. That's like a word. I don't need your judgment, okay? Again, your thoughts are judgmental, and you all need to ask for forgiveness right now for judging the pastor, okay? This is a hard job. Anyway. All of the problems, though, the seed of all of them is the words that we use. And Scripture is going to say, it goes one step further. The actions that we do, what we're known by, is probably an echo of the words that we use, but it says, but guess what? The words that you use are an echo of something else. The words that you use, it says, comes out of the overflow of the heart. Out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Now when it says the man who has never felt what he says is perfect, what it's saying is the person who has learned this ancient Chinese technique of shutting your trap. You will have so many fewer problems. I can't tell you the last time I got in trouble from anyone for what I did. Some of you may be like, I snorted a line of coke this morning and I got in trouble for it, okay? You are an exception to the rule. But mostly, what we get in trouble from, we have contention with our parents because they say something and we go, yeah, Parents like, that's disrespectful. You're like, you're a child. And they're like, you're a child. And you're like, grow up. And then grow up. And then grow up. Right? It's your words. It says out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth is going to speak. So today, we are going to work on grading that, and now we can improve on that. All right? There's this cool quote that I heard, and it said, the tongue is the only tool that gets sharper with use. And I was like, oh, that's tricky right there, whoever made that up. The tongue is the only tool that gets sharper with use. Okay? James is going to continue. He's going to say this. Like we saw on the screen, when we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn around the whole animal. Okay? Well-placed horses can be Clydesdales, right? 2,000, 2,500 pounds. And with this little 1 pound piece of metal put into the back of their jaw, you can steer the whole freaking animal. Okay? It's using this comparison. Or take ships as an example. They're so large, driven by such strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boast. Consider what a great force is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue is also a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. What it's talking about here is don't get so caught up in the illustrations that you miss the point. The point is the response to the words that you use don't seem to match the crime. Okay? Why is the response to a small phrase or small word that we use so much bigger than the word itself? Okay? It uses the idea of a small spark can ignite a great fire. Alright? So there's a few years ago, 2007, there was a huge fire that took place. It burned out most of the Grapevine area up in Central California. I mean, 600 square miles. Like, this was a fat fire. 60 square miles, not 600. 60 square miles. But in it, many buildings, 15 homes, millions of dollars, and just scorched land as far as the eye could see. When they found out who did it, a mother walked her 15-year-old son into the police station and made him confess. And that boy said this: I was playing with matches in the backyard. Okay? He was playing with matches in the backyard. He started a small fire, contained. It became uncontained, and he got scared, so he ran away. And when he ran away, it began to catch the brush on fire, and it caused all of this. Now, if I showed you the millions of dollars of damage, the acreage and acreage, tons of acreage that was scorched, 60 square miles, and I said, this is what did it, and I held that match in my hand, you would go, that is not fair. What caused this should be cannon size, right? It should be huge. It should have been like a meteor from the heavens, and it should have scorched this, but it's not. The comparison, the proportion, the words that were used versus the destruction it can cause is lopsided. That's the point. For instance, in this very moment, I am 3 words away from undoing years of ministry. If I chose 3 or 4 words right now, I would never have a job in ministry again. That is it. It's 4 words. It's less than 2 seconds in a sermon. And I've preached hundreds of sermons to hundreds of people, to all over the state, different parts. And yet, that's it. It will undo everything. And you don't have to get creative with the word. It's not like a secret phrase. Just anything. If I was just like, F, mother F, right? If that's what I just did right now, you showed to Chris Brown, I would be looking for a new job. Probably something not in the ministry field, okay? Because how do you come back from that? That's what it says. It makes great boast. It's not fair, but it shouldn't be fair. If we are going to grow in maturity as people coming into adulthood, a lot of you are already adults. Troy's an adult as of today, okay? Yeah, Troy. The point is this. We can no longer go back to the very lethargic and lazy response to our words hurting people of, you took it the wrong way. We have passed responsibility of our words on the way that people handle them. That is a very childish thing to do. Okay? In maturity, we have to understand something. Everything that we say to someone has 3 parts to it. Okay? And I'm going to go on later, and there's actually 6 things that play into it, but there's 3 parts. Here's what happens. In the next sentence I'm going to say, there are 3 things happening. 1, it's what I mean to say. I know internally what I mean to say. In fact, that sentence I just said, I meant to say that. Okay? So the first part is what I mean to say. So when I say, Jennifer, your car is ratchet. Okay? That's the phrase we're going to use. That's what I said. Okay? What I said is your car is ratchet. What I meant was, ha ha ha, let's laugh together because you actually own a Jaguar. Okay? That's what I meant. So it's what I say, what I mean, and how it's interpreted. That's the third part. Alright? There are three parts to everything that I say to someone. It's what I say, the words I actually use, the context, the subtext behind what I say, and then how they interpret it. Okay? So for instance, I could say the exact same thing to two people. One of them could laugh hysterically, and the other one could bawl their eyes out. Right? Someone gets a new haircut and they hate it and promise tomorrow. And they think that they are the second coming of the Wizard of Oz because they look like a darn fool. Okay? And let's say Leah, look at her hair. It's so fun. It's just majestic, right? And everyone's been walking around going, "Oh, Leah, your hair is majestic," or whatever they say these days. I don't know. Okay? And I can go, "Oh, let's say that you're the Wizard of Oz," which you're not. Your hair is lovely. But that's not the point. I'm like, "Nice haircut. Nice haircut." Now, that's the same exact thing. In fact, the same exact tone. And yet the context of the hearer is different. Right? When someone walks up to me and they're like, "You're fat," I'm like, because I'm not. And I know, I'm like, if you think I'm fat, you have different issues, man. Because like I'm like 190 soaking wet, right? On a planet where mass is different, I'm bigger. I'm not. I'm just not. Okay? And if you made an argument, you could give me 10 reasons why I'm actually fat, and I'd be like, "Great job. You just wasted your breath," because I'm not. And I know that about myself. Okay? Not because I'm the supreme workout guy, but because I don't know how to grow fat. I've never been able to do it. Right? I've got an older brother who reads a Snicker bar label and he's like, okay? And I can deep fry that Snickers bar, and then I can deep fry the deep fried Snickers bar, and I can keep deep frying it until it was this big. And I could eat it. And I could finish that with a pizza and then wolf it down with a Pizookie. And I would lose 3 pounds. And my body would be like, "Too much food, get rid of everything." And I'm like, "Oh, I've lost weight." Okay? But that exact same phrase has been used to hurt people all across the nation, all across the world, every day. What I say, what I mean, and how it's interpreted. Okay? No longer can we, as adults now, get away with, "Well, that's not what I meant. Well, that's just not what I meant." If we're not careful with what we say, if we don't take responsibility and own the words that we use, we are starting fires proverbially, and when someone catches up to the match in our hand, we're like, no, this is too small. This could have never started that. There's a spark. I didn't mean to make you go into like anorexia. I was just joking with you. I was just making a simple fact. Okay? You're slightly overweight. I wasn't saying like, you're the worst person. That's so irresponsible. The only way we mature at this point in our life is everything that we do, we own. We don't sit and justify our actions because of the way that they interpreted it, especially if you're a believer, you're a leader, and you have that self-awareness. Whereas to pass that off on somebody else is irresponsible. It's not who we're called to be as believers. Okay? Own your crap in every aspect of your life. Own it. Okay? Even if you're justified in what you said, you own it. Who gets to be the referee on whether or not you hurt someone's feelings? The other person does. Okay? Just picture them wearing the referee outfit. Alright? For years and years, I lost friends, I lost relationships because I thought that it was more like a jury. Okay? I made my case for why it shouldn't hurt your feelings. You make your case for why it did. And if I feel good about my argument, I go, "I'll screw you." And I walk away. Okay? when I gave the other person the referee jersey, and I went, wow, I don't get to tell you whether or not you were hurt. I know, you're like, that's a childish way of thinking. That's what I thought until like 5 years ago. I thought it was my job to tell you whether or not what I said hurt your feelings or not. Okay? And if it was honest, and I did it a certain way, and still hurt your feelings, I'm like, you're immature. Okay? What was immature was me not owning my crap. That's what we're talking about as we move forward in this thing. Okay? So, number one. Okay? Again, each of these things, I think there's only 4 of them today, maybe only 3. But we are going to give ourselves a grade. You can give yourself a letter grade, you can give yourself a number grade, doesn't matter, as long as you know the scale. Why are we giving yourself a grade? Hopefully that you can talk to a mentor, a close friend, someone you respect, and say, hey, this is what I think about myself. Okay, for instance, number 1 is, I refrain from complaining. Okay? I want it to rhyme, but I just couldn't figure out a way to make it rhyme. I refrain from the complaint. I don't even know. I refrain from complaining. Okay? This is important for us to know. Complaining is such a khaki sin, isn't it? It's such a boring kind of like everyone does it. Who cares? Get over it. Everyone complains. I'm complaining right now. Okay? But here's the thing that James is trying to get to in this. Okay? And that Paul's going to reverberate in Philippians is when we complain, internally, we are practicing an entitlement towards perceiving our world as perfect. That's what complaining is. It's, I perceive that I'm entitled to supreme comfort. If I didn't feel like I deserved something, I would never complain about anything. I wouldn't. Like right now, okay? I'm like, why is someone talking in the middle of my sermon? Why? Because I feel like I'm entitled for everyone to shut up while I'm talking. But I'm not. Okay? That's my kid. I'm not really bummed about that. I love to hear him talk, but it was a big example, right? That's a crap example. That's what I'm talking about. Use your words carefully, okay? Everything we do, though, I'm hot. It's hot outside. I'm hot. It was so hot. And girls, for some reason, guys, we have like shared interests. We like to hang out and we talk about sports. We're like, hey, who'd you draft from that thing? Girls, it's like your icebreaker is the weather. I've noticed this lately. Girl be like, oh my gosh, it was 1,000 degrees yesterday. Which I'm like, no, it wasn't. Like that is the sun. Like that, we would all be. And then the other one goes, right? It was 1,000 degrees. And then girls say the same thing. It's so stupid. But every girl says it, they go, I love it when it's hot, but not too hot. And girls freak out on the cold. But they say the same thing like that. I love when it's cold, but not too cold. And then fall happens, and every girl simultaneously loses their crap. They're, leaves used to be green, now they're brown. It's like that leaf just died, and then you decorate with their carcasses. You're like, put the leaves everywhere. Anyway, that's what you're going. What we're talking about is everything that we complain about. There's so much traffic. I have just assumed that I am the type of person who doesn't sit in traffic. Because if I accepted it as part of my life as being on the same kilter as everybody else, and I sat in traffic, I'd go, sitting in traffic. And then one step further, I'd go, thank you, Jesus, that I have a car. No. Traffic. Traffic's so bad today. It took me 7 minutes. 7 minutes to go 7 miles, right? Back in the day, that was half a day. And we're like, 7 minutes. I waited at the DMV for 13 seconds today. Right? No one ever said that before. You're all just tuned out. You're like, now he's lying. Now he's lying. I refrain from complaining. Number 1. Philippians chapter 2. As I was talking about, Paul's going to reiterate this. Philippians chapter 2. It's a few books to the left from that. It says this, beginning at verse 14. Do everything without complaining or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure. That's that same word. Okay? Same word that James uses. If you are never at fault in what you said, that man is blameless. Okay? Paul reiterates this. So that you may become blameless and pure, children of God without faith, in a crooked and depraved generation in which you shine like stars in the universe. Okay? He's saying the words that you use, it's like a beacon of light for other people. When you complain or don't complain, when you're the one person in the group where it's all hot and you're just living life, you're in traffic and you're like, man, I'm so glad that I've got a car. This is awesome. This is sweet. You become a beacon of light. Now, that light, any light, if I took out my light right on my little iPhone right here and I turned it on, I'm just going to do it just for illustration's sake. Right? Super bright. Yay! Right? Not so bright, right? If I turn the lights off, is my light brighter when the lights are on or off? Off. Try again. It's the freaking same thing. But when the lights are off, people notice more, right? My light shines when it's beautiful fall weather, and the light shines when it's way too hot. But people notice more when I'm being a light in darkness. Okay? I'm not brighter, I'm not darker, but in darkness, light is able to guide, and it's more noticeable. Okay? That's number one. And now I've got 5 minutes left to do the last 4. So, hold on to your butts. Okay? Jurassic Park, have you ever seen Jurassic Park? Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson's character? Hold on to your butts. I never know why he said that. When I was a kid, we would rewind that because we weren't allowed to say butts, so we'd be like... So James 4 verse 11, this is number 2. Number 2, I don't say other people's names. Okay? Now you go, yeah, but what about? Step 1 is this, okay? For most of us in this room, myself included, let's get to a place where we just don't talk about other people at all. Once we've perfected that, then we can start moseying into the area where I'm edifying people when I use their name. Step 1, though, is get other people's names out of your mouth, okay? And you can't go, you know the girl that we hang out with who has blonde hair and wears sandals and it's kind of a hippie? Ivana, I didn't say her name, okay, right? I didn't say her name, therefore it didn't happen. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. It's about not that you're a hippie, but kind of, right? One of the cool people I know, by the way. So that's not the point. The point is this. Once we get to a place where we're comfortable in our own skin talking about stuff that isn't other people, then we can start introducing the fact that I might be able to talk good about other people. It's kind of like English, right? A really good poet breaks all the rules of English, but if you wrote that on your paper in your English class, you'd be like, there's no period, that doesn't rhyme, you can't end with a preposition. When you're a poet, everyone's like, they're great, they do whatever they want, right? They're not complete sentences, they just go, she went moon. And you're like, that's beautiful. And if you wrote that, your teacher would go, that has no predicate, okay? That's just, that doesn't make any sense, okay? She went moon. That's lovely, okay? Once you learn the art of being comfortable with talking about things that aren't people, then we can mosey back to that thing. But do you use other people's names or not? Okay? Most likely, if you have a habit of having someone else's name in your mouth constantly, it's not positive. Okay? So for this, at least maybe the first week, shock yourself however you can every time someone else's name escapes your lips. Every time you start a sentence with, but Sarah, just go, that wasn't my name, so I shouldn't say it. But Tetha, not going to say that name, okay? Just try it. No one else's name, okay? Obviously, not to the sake of it being dangerous, right? Someone's going to get hit by a bird, you don't go, I can't. I can't tell her she's going to get hit. Okay? Don't become legalistic. Get the spirit of the law, not the letter of it. Okay? Number 3. People don't come to me for info on other people. Okay? People don't come to me for info on other people. In other words, I am not the source of gossip. Some of you wear it like this badge of courage when you talk about like the burden. How come everyone always asks me about people? And you go, do you normally know about other people? Yes. Well, there's your answer. That's why they come to you, because you know. And you know because you inquire, because you eavesdrop, because you're willing to share the information. Okay? If people are constantly asking you about the latest hubbub, that means you are problematic. It means you are the weak link that everyone's like, she'll tell me what he did. Oh, she'll tell me how they broke up. Oh, shit. And they come and you're like, oh, man, everyone always asks me. Okay, sit down. So, Jason and Jennifer, right? So that's how you start everything. All right? Write down in your margins, Proverbs 11:12. 11:12, that's fine. No, don't worry, it's just where we are. Don't worry about it. Proverbs 11:12 says this. A man who lacks judgment speaks of his neighbor, but a man of understanding will hold his tongue. Verse 13. A gossip betrays confidence, but a trustworthy man keeps it to himself. Okay? A gossip betrays confidence. A man who lacks judgment talks about other people. Okay? So people are coming to you and you're sharing information. Let Proverbs speak to that going, you're not wise. That's what Scripture is saying. If you're the source of gossip, Scripture is saying you're not very wise. In fact, the opposite of wisdom is foolishness. Okay? You're a fool. Okay? Don't think, oh yeah, I'm the source of gossip. Scripture goes, you're a fool. Okay? Listen to those words. Next one. I got a lot of things in Proverbs right there, that one. Spread your margins. 16 verse 28. 16 verse 28. 18 verse 7. And 21 verse 23. 18 verses 7 through 8. 16 verse 28 was before. And 21 verse 23. They're just things to look up later. Okay? Because we got to finish this. Last one. It says this. In James it says, can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? No. Neither then should praise and curses inherit the same mouth. That's the analogy it's given. Okay? You don't go to the ocean expecting every once in a while for that to be full of fresh water. When you go to the ocean, you know it's going to be salty. When you go to a river, based on the brackishness of it or where it is in the world, by and large, it's going to be fresh water. Okay? You don't go to the ocean some days and you're like, oh, drinking water. Okay? It's always salty. And that's what he's trying to say. When you have salty speech and freshwater speech, okay, freshwater being praise, being thanksgiving, edifying each other, being affirming, loving words, and then behind their back, you talk about this, it's saying, don't get it twisted. You're not sometimes good and sometimes bad. If you've chosen to integrate salt water into your fresh water, you've made the whole thing salty. Okay? You don't have two compartments, one for your freshwater lemons, one for your salt water. It's one big water tower of the words that you use. And if it's salty, it's salty. Okay? If you even had, it was a quarter salty, and you got that out of your tap and started drinking it, you wouldn't go, it's not the best, but I'll take it. No, it can kill you. Okay? When you introduce that much salt, it can really hurt you. Okay? So the idea here is, I am not a deceiver. Okay? This is what I mean by deceiver. Who I claim to be, and the words that I use, the gossip that I speak about, the way that I talk about people are two different things. Scripture is going to call that word, the word to me is hypocrite. Okay? It means you wear masks. You're an actor. Are you an actor? Do you act one way but speak another way? When you're in the freshwater environment, are you all freshy fresh? And when you're in saltwater, are you all salty salt? Okay? And let this rock your world. You don't get a hall pass for more of your life being freshwater and only a smidgen of it being salt. Because even a smidgen of it being salt introduced to freshwater is not fresh anymore. It's not drinkable. It becomes sour. Okay? It has the ability to hurt you. Alright? This is what it means to be mature in our speech. These are just, you just write these down. These are 6 lines. This is what we're ending with. A mature, believing communicator who is careful with, don't write this down. This is my preface. Sorry. I saw you guys write. I'm like, well, I would never speak that fast. Maybe I will. Okay? This is what it entails. There's 6 parts. Okay? I say what I mean. That's line 1. I say what I mean. Alright? In everyday life, what that means is if you are constantly getting caught up, you say something and someone starts crying, and that's like your MO. And you're like, I didn't even mean it that way. It's not the rest of the world's fault, okay? This is for anything. If everyone's got beef with you, it's not everyone else's fault. That's the point where you need to get a mirror out and you need to go, I'm really bad at this. I need to change this. But we're like, look, that's just who I am. I'm very abrasive. I'm very straightforward. You can call me whatever name you want. It's totally fine with me. That's just who I am. You take it or you leave it, okay? You might have just said, blah, 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 blah. I'm 4 years old, okay? Because that's the way it's perceived. No one gives you a hall pass because it's like, oh, she claimed to be that way? Then never mind, my feelings aren't. Okay? Oh, you said out loud that you were that way? Never mind. I didn't know she said that. Okay? It's not the same thing. Okay? I say what I mean. Number 2, they hear what I mean. So I articulate it well. And they receive it well. Okay? So the difference between saying what you mean and saying what you don't mean is the guy who stumbles across himself and finally gets out words that he really didn't mean to say. Right? So you're trying to make amends with somebody, and what you want to say is, I'm sorry for what I did to you. That's what you're trying to say. To say what you mean is to say, I'm sorry for what I did to you. Okay? A mature communicator will get that across. An immature one will go, you know, the other day when your feelings were hurt, I wish they wouldn't have been hurt. If I hurt them, like it's not like, look, first of all, I had a cousin one time, and the thing that he told me, here's what I'm going to, look, in baseball, there's, right, and you're like, where are you going? What are you doing with this, okay? I mean what I say. They hear what I mean. That's step 2. Step 3 is, no, iPhone just turned off. Yeah, back on. My tone creates understanding, okay? I say what I mean. They hear what I mean. My tone creates understanding. In other words, my tone matches with what I'm trying to say. Right? In nonverbal communication class in college, what you're going to learn is that 90% of what you say has nothing to do with the words that you use. Okay? For instance, when I had a dog all growing up, his name was Rev, and I get home and I go, Revy, you are so stupid. I hate you. I wish you were never born. And he's like, and he's like licking me and everything. And, you know, likewise, I can be like, I love you. I'm going to take you on a walk. And he'd be like, okay? And you're like, well, those are dogs. Well, we're kind of the same way. Okay? We're kind of the same way. A lot of it has to do with the way that we say it, the tone by which we say it. Nice hair. Right? That subtext, I hate your family, right? That's what the subtext is. Okay? My tone matches my meaning. Right? I had the best time at your party of the day. Good, that sounds like I had the best time at your party of the day. Or, I had the best time at your party of the day. It's like, that was got weird. That was almost like, what else was there like another layer of meaning there? Or, I had the best time at your party the other day. What did I just say? I just said I hated your party by saying your. You see my intention right there? I had the best time at your party the other day. Non-verbal. Alright? My tone creates understanding. Number 4, my body matches my intention. Okay? My body matches my intention. Alright? My body matches my intention. To give the most outlandish example, is if I'm like, hey, I think we should break up. That's it. What you say? Doesn't make sense. Okay? It's the same backwards. I'm all closed off and defensive, and I'm like, I'm fine. Yeah, but you're not. My body matches my intention. Number 5, my timing is right. This might be the most important one. Okay? You can say the right thing at the wrong time and be wrong. Your audience in a mature believer, someone who is responsible for the words that they use, doesn't just take those first things into consideration, and then as long as I'm kosher with those, you should take it well, and if you don't, you're immature. Okay? So if Lawson gets back from, let's say we're playing football, and we'll play European football since you're on the Euro. Playing soccer, he's in this tournament, I'm on the other team, and all I wanted to say was, dude, you're really good at soccer, okay? That's all I want to say. We finished the game. He's fuming, right? He just punched the goalpost in. It's broken. He's storming around the field. And I walk up and I'm like, hey, you're a really good soccer player. He's like, I hate you. I'm going to burn your house down, okay? The timing that we use, okay? Someone, their grandma died, and you walk up and you're like, hey, I need to talk to you. I just really didn't like when you were talking to me today. Like, that's probably not the right time. Is it important to say? Yes. Is it good? Yes. Did you mean it to hurt them? No. Did you love them? Yes. But you did it at the wrong time. You can't just go, well, I said what I did this time. It's like, no, you're a child, okay? Timing is important. Last but not least, is that the hearer is ready, okay? The hearer is ready. I say what I mean, they hear what I mean, my tone creates understanding, my body matches my intention, my timing is right, and the hearer is ready. Okay, so maybe it's not a timing thing, maybe it's a maturity thing. It might be a maturity thing. Okay, it's probably not time for you to tell your first grade brother that something that he's not going to get, right? You just learned at school that you shouldn't be playing in the mud because it's got amoebas in it or whatever. You walk out and you just berate him. You're like, you're an idiot! Okay, it's got amoebas in it. Okay? It's got bacterial amoebas in it. And they've got flagellum, and you don't want that. Okay? It's like, just calm down. The mature believer is going to take all these things into consideration. Alright? And think about this when you guys are speaking. Claiming maturity is claiming responsibility for every aspect of your life. The number one indicator between immaturity and maturity is how much of your life you own. Alright? My son owns nothing. And he expects everything. He just cries and hopes I fix it. That's all he does. The awkward thing is there are some 18, 19, 20, 30, 40, 60-year-olds who do the same thing. They just cry and hope someone fixes it. And when you don't, I'm going to get moody. Right? Being an effective communicator, it's not just a good life skill. James is saying it's a believer skill. Practice it. Don't talk bad about each other. Lift one another up. Don't put salt in your fresh water. Make sure that everything is all-encompassing. The way that you interact with each other, the way that you say, talk about other people's names, or don't talk about them, that's a reflection of me. Me if I were Jesus, not me as in Chris Hogan. Okay? God's saying you can't just say, well, at least I don't do drugs. I can gossip because I don't do drugs. God's saying, oh, man, you don't get it. Probably in the history of the world, the number of people who have refused Christianity on the basis of one of their believers was doing drugs versus one of those believers treated them poorly with their words is exponentially different. And we focus on those big ticket items. Well, at least I don't do drugs and have sex and smoke weed, which is doing drugs, but I do drugs, so it doesn't matter. We focus on that and we go, but I don't treat people very well. But at least I don't do this. And Jesus is going, man, thousands every day are lost here. Few are lost here, and yet this is where we focus. We focus on the big drug things because we deal personally with the other side of it. Maturity is to take that and grow in it. Okay? That's what we got for this week. We have one more week left in this series.